Good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us for this exclusive interview today with Congressman Will Hurd. He represents the 23rd Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Hurd, thank you so much for being here today for this inaugural interview for our new segment in the Bear News called A Bear Moment. Now, you've been in office for 7 months. What has surprised you the most?
One of the things that's probably surprised me the most is the amount of hand-wringing that goes on in Washington, D.C. Some of my colleagues have been there for 20, 30 years, and I'm like, you don't have an opinion on that topic yet? The other thing is the warmness of relations between members. People have been incredibly gracious in helping me get up to speed, and I've also been shocked by how members are looking to my background and experience on whatever the issue of the day is, whether it's Iran, cybersecurity, border security. People are really trying to leverage my background experience, and I'm having an impact on policy that most freshmen don't.
Wonderful. Let's begin this interview with a serious topic, Iran. The Iranians are known for committing human rights violations. Since January of this year, more than 700 men and women have been publicly executed. This includes musicians, dancers, Christians, members of the opposition party. Currently, there are 4 Americans being held hostage in Iranian prisons. Did the president fail the American people by not demanding the release of these Americans before the start of negotiations?
I agree with you. He did fail. And this is one of those issues when you're in a negotiation, you need to have confidence building measures. And this could have been one of those. And the fact that we didn't make this a precondition for negotiations is unacceptable. Another example of why we cannot trust the Iranians. The Iranians have lied to the UN nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, on a number of occasions. They have lied to the UN Security Council on a number of occasions. They're supporting terrorist organizations in Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. We can't trust the Iranians.
Did this capitulation by not demanding their release negate our ability to negotiate from a position of strength?
Well, it's a bad deal, period. And the fact that, what are we getting out of this deal? This is a good deal for the Iranians, not for us. And so there's a number of areas there that was horrible that we allowed to happen.
How do you read the fact that Secretary Kerry continued these talks rather than walk away after the numerous extensions and deadlines were missed? Is it your belief that the United States should have walked away?
We should have walked away at any point in this process. And what the administration is trying to pitch right now is that if we walk away from this deal, that means war. And that's a false decision. It doesn't mean war. If we walk away from this deal, guess what happens? Sanctions stay in place. We put even further sanctions on them, and we bring them, we start negotiating from an even stronger position of strength. And so it was absolutely an opportunity to walk away and show that we were serious.
A couple of weeks have passed since the announcement of this deal. Did we get away too many concessions?
I think so. That's why I'm going to vote against this deal, and that's why I'm encouraging a number of our colleagues to do this. As the days go by and folks learn more about the nuances of this deal, it's making a lot of people upset. And this is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is an issue about the safety of the United States. It's an issue about the safety of our friends like Israel in the region. It's about the safety of the world. And so we're going to take these remaining number of weeks to crisscross the state and talk about this issue, and to get men and women to rise up and call their representative and say, hey, make sure you vote against this deal in September when it's going to come up for a vote.
Has Congress lost its ability to put a check on the president?
No, this is the reason why we negotiated an agreement to have this deal come back through both chambers. It's going to be very difficult to override a veto, but that's why we have 60 days from when this deal was submitted to Congress a number of weeks ago to try to marshal our forces.
What are your specific concerns for the U.S. and its allies about the framework of this Iran nuclear deal?
That it allows Iran to get a nuclear bomb, period. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's going to allow them to continue a clandestine pursuit of a nuclear weapon. It's going to allow them to get it overtly after about 8.5 to 10.5 years. So we're going to deal with a nuclear Iran. In the first 6 to 8 months of this agreement being signed, there are about 650 individuals and organizations that are to come off sanctions lists. That could generate almost $150 billion for the Iranian government. Now, there's a unit in Iran called the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is kind of like their special forces and the CIA combined. Their annual budget is like $50 billion. So in Iran, over the last 4 decades, has been under any kind of financial sanctions for a number of years. Without cash is scary. Now they're going to be flush with cash, even scarier.
The administration long ago favored anytime, anywhere inspections. Now that we find that's not the case, we can't inspect previously undisclosed nuclear sites and bases. This is a big departure from anywhere, anytime. The U.S. and our allies in the region are concerned about not having immediate access. What could be done if the Congress doesn't come together to stop this deal from going through?
Well, it's making sure the IAEA pushes for getting into places everywhere. And a young man on my Facebook page made a comment. He said, this is like having a police officer pull over a drug dealer. And the police officer says, I'm going to search your car. And the drug dealer says, when? And the police officer says, a month from now. All right, this is basically what we're allowing to happen. I mean, it's unacceptable. The IAEA has done this before with Iran, and the Iranians have lied to them. And there was from 2003 to 2010, the IAEA produced 30 reports, and because of that, they said the Iranians are lying about their development of nuclear weapons, and it led to 4 rounds of sanctions. Right? We can't trust them. This is a bad deal. This is why we need to do everything against it to stop it.
Israel is the United States' biggest ally in the Middle East. So what does it mean to the U.S.-Israel relations when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this deal is, quote, a historical stunning mistake? Is he right?
He's 100% right. He said it. He came to a joint session of Congress a number of months ago. I was in Jerusalem recently and had a meeting with the Prime Minister, and he used the example of the United States is trying to domesticate a wild tiger, and he's absolutely right. And the Iranians are a threat to Israel, and Israel has already said they will not let the Iranians get a weapon of mass destruction.
It is widely assumed that Israel was behind the Stuxnet cyber attempt that set back the Iran nuclear program in 2010. Recently, the Jewish press reports that the Obama deal directly allows Western powers to help Iran to protect its nuclear sites and possibly even to stage a counterattack on the source of the threat, as stated in the Annex 3 of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Would the United States and the P5+1 countries be required to, in this agreement, to respond and to protect Iran?
So the question becomes is timing of this deal. It's saying that after a certain date, and whether it's after 8.5 years or 10 years, we're still unclear of. And what level of support to help Iran is the international community beholden to? That is still unclear on what that level is. And regardless of what it is, it's outrageous that we have that provision in there. You know, these are folks that we can't trust. As I said before, we have zero confidence building measures between the two countries, and we shouldn't come to their rescue.
Israel, as you mentioned, stated that they will protect themselves at all costs, regardless of the deal between the U.S. and Iran. Do you support that?
Yes, you know, from their perspective, absolutely. They're going to do everything, and they have everything within their power to protect their borders and their people.
You've mentioned time and again that Iran can't be trusted, and after these sanctions are lifted, they will have access to more than $150 billion in previously frozen accounts. What will be the national security implications from this?
Well, it allows them to do what they do very well, and that's export terror. You know, they have been the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the history of the world. Okay, this is their ability to continue to export is only going to get even higher. If we erode the ban on conventional arms as well, now they're going to be able to provide even more material support to the various terrorist organizations that they support. That's bad for the region. That's bad for our Israeli friends. It's bad for our moderate Sunni Arab friends. It's bad for the United States.
Does this deal start a nuclear arms race in the Middle East?
100%. Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia has already said that he expects Saudi Arabia to have the same deal that the Iranians have. The UAE, Turkey, Egypt, all these people can be asking for the same thing. And they know that if you want to, with Iran getting close to a nuclear weapon, that's going to totally destabilize the region, and that they're going to have to keep up with the Iranians.
You've mentioned the IAEA. In a recent Congressional Foreign Affairs hearing, a very good question was raised. Does the IAEA even have the resources to seek out and find these violations? What do you think?
Well, the IAEA has been doing inspections for a really long time. So they have the technical expertise, but they also rely on all the UN nations to provide them with intelligence and support on what's going forward. So the U.S. intelligence agencies would be providing a lot of the details and specifics on where they should be going, and they're going to have their internal things as well. So the question is, it's not whether the IAEA has the technical abilities, it's are they going to actually be able to get in to the places that we should be inspecting.
Now we're going to lift these sanctions before anything has been verified by the Iranians. What is the process to reinstate these sanctions once Iran has been found to be in violation, which is almost a certainty as we can't trust them?
Yeah, it's the people calling it snapback, the ability to snap sanctions back. And there are some provisions that once a relationship, a commercial relationship has been established, that's going to be grandfathered from any future sanctions. Right? That's an outrageous provision in this deal. And so the ability to get sanctions back to where they are today, once they're lifted, is going to be incredibly difficult. And this is one of those issues where the Iranians are going to be able to build an economy that is resistant to some of these international pressures. And that is going to hurt us in the future from being able to bring them to the negotiating table.
It already seems that deals are in place. China said they will help Iran build 5 new nuclear sites. Iran is going to be exporting billions of gallons of oil to Russia. What are the chances that the P5+1 countries would actually reapply these sanctions? And doesn't it just take one veto vote from them to keep these sanctions from being put back in place?
So this would be UN sanctions. So yes, anybody on the Security Council can veto the UN sanctions. But forget all that. Let's just think about U.S. sanctions. We're the largest economy in the world. And if you think that our European allies are going to choose Iran over us, I think that's a false choice. And so, yes, the international cooperation that we have on sanctions at Iran are going to be tested, and it'll be hard to get them where they are today. But still, the United States has the most powerful economy in the world, and that has influence in the region.
Now, what can your constituency do to voice their concerns and have a real impact on the direction of these issues with Iran?
Look, I'm voting against this deal, and I'm doing everything I can in order to get other colleagues to do that. But what my constituents need to do is they need to reach out to their friends, their family, their co-workers, and other people's district and make sure that their congressman or woman is going to be voting against this deal as well. The magic numbers, are 43 on the House. We're going to need, if all Republicans vote against this, we're going to need 43 Democrats in the House, and in the Senate, we're going to need 13 Democrats to vote with the Republicans. And those numbers at first seem pretty daunting, but again, as you see the number of folks in the United States that are upset with this deal, I think we can achieve it.
So we need to light up the switchboard at the Capitol.
100%.
All right, let's switch to some local topics. San Antonio was known as Military City USA with more than 100,000 veterans living here. The Office of Veteran Affairs estimates that 31% of Vietnam, 10% of Desert Storm, 11% of Afghanistan, and 20% of Iraqi vets are suffering with PTSD. This not only affects the veterans, but their families and their communities as well. Is enough being done to support these men and women as they reacclimate into civilian life? And specifically, are there enough mental health resources to aid these men and women? And what actions have you taken specifically to address this issue?
The short answer is no. Not enough is being done. As you know, I served as an undercover officer in the CIA for almost a decade. I served alongside our men and women in the military, and we should making sure that we're doing absolutely everything we can to take care of them when they get home. When they leave the Department of Defense and get medically discharged and have to transition to the VA, when they're in the DOD, they're getting the right medicines and mix of medicines that help with PTSD, but they don't have the same access to that medication when they get into the VA, and that's something that's absolutely outrageous. We're trying to fix that. Congress just passed a a bill called the Clay Hunt Save Act. And what this did is it creates a new unit within the VA that's focused specifically on mental health issues and was fully funded. And we're making sure that our vets are getting the support that they need so that it doesn't happen what happened to young Clay Hunt, who ended up committing suicide. So that's unacceptable, and we're doing that. And then also, Republicans, we've passed a budget for the VA, which is the largest budget increase that the VA has ever gotten, and a little bit of politics is being played in Washington D.C., but we should fully fund the VA in order to make things in order to make it better for our vets.
Does the VA need more money, or do they just need to be more judicious with the resources that they already have?
They need more money to fund some programs, but also there's a management problem. And one of the things that I love to see in the VA is more veterans actually working in the VA. Another bill we just passed this week was making it easier for people within the VA to get fired, because to be honest, the wait times is unacceptable. And the people in the VA, we've known about this for a number of years, and trying to get people fired and held responsible for their actions. We need to allow the leadership of the VA to do that. And that's one of the bills that we passed, so folks know, get those wait times down.
Your efforts to secure a cyber protection team here in San Antonio was praised by San Antonio Mayor Ivy Taylor. Additionally, Major General Don Nichols stated a CPT is a natural fit that will bolster our capabilities. What exactly is a cyber protection team, and how will it benefit Bexar County?
Sure, it's a team of about 80 individuals, and they deploy to different places to help protect the military's digital infrastructure. And what's great about bringing that right here to San Antonio is with the 24th Air Force and 25th Air Force, both responsible for protecting the digital infrastructure of our military. With NSA Texas, we have the resources here to do that. With the programs at UTSA and Texas A&M San Antonio, we have a pipeline of young kids that have the skills necessary to go into these jobs, and we have the space. So this is a great place to have it put right here in San Antonio. We're working hard to make sure that happens.
Great. You serve as chairman of the Information Technology Subcommittee. On July 10th, you called for the resignation of Catherine Archuleta, the director of the Office of Personnel Management, following the data breach of more than 21 million Americans' personal sensitive information, including your own. The next day, she resigned. What's in place to make sure that this sort of breach doesn't happen again? And do you have confidence in Beth Corbett, the new interim director, to make a difference?
I want to help the new OPM director as much as possible. On her second day on the job, she actually called me and said, listen, we know how much you're involved in this effort. We're going through to make sure we're doing everything that we can. And, this is a difficult issue. I was in cybersecurity for 5 years, and, we got to change our mindset. We got to begin with the presumption of breach. We got to assume people are already there. And what every agency in the federal government should be doing is they have an inspector general report that has reviewed their digital infrastructure. And a lot of these agencies have been found deficient. They need to be going through line by line and fixing those issues, right? The GAO, the General Accounting Office, has done a high-risk report looking across the entire federal government. Those agencies need to go get those reports and fix all those things that are in there, and they need to do it as quickly as they possibly can. Everyone, and for some reason in Washington, D.C., 2 years seems like a short period of time. I said, no, let's stop thinking in terms of years and start thinking in terms of weeks. And so I know that the new OPM director is committed to that, and we're going to be working hard, and we should be giving her as much support as we possibly can as she tries to fix, a broken system.
This week on July 29th, you introduced the legislation, the Einstein Act of 2015. How will this advanced tool be used to mitigate future cyber attacks?
Sure. So what Einstein 3 is, it's a tool that prevents intrusions and detects intrusions into your system. It's a known intrusion. So this is not a silver bullet, and there is no such thing as a silver bullet in cybersecurity. But this is going to go at the internet service provider and try to block as much traffic even before it gets to any of the websites or networks of the government. So it's going to sort out so much more data before it even gets, and so the defenders at the different agencies are going to have less, the haystack is going to be a little bit smaller so they can find that needle.
Okay, finally, Pete Gallego, your Democratic opponent in the last election, has said he's going to run again in 2016, and we all are aware the Democrats want that seat back. What do you plan to accomplish in the next 18 months to show the voters in your district that they should re-elect you in 2016?
I've been in office for 7 months. I've already gotten 2 bills signed into law. The last time this district, District 23, saw a bill signed into law was in 2007. I'm providing a level of service to this district that they haven't seen in a decade. And so I'm going to continue doing my job of showing leadership in Washington, D.C., making sure that we're meeting all the needs of our constituents when they have problems with the VA, when they have problems with Medicare, when they have problems with any other issue, and making sure that we're reducing the size and scope of the federal government and making sure that men and women in this country have access to the American dream the way our parents did and our parents' did. So when we do that, guess what? The great folks of the 23rd Congressional District are going to grade my paper in 18 months, and I think I'm going to get a passing grade.
I think that's true. Congressman, thank you so much for joining me today. Your background really provides a unique ability to see things through a different lens that those entrenched in Washington haven't seen face-to-face like you've seen being in the CIA. Whether it be Iran, Veterans Affairs, or cybersecurity, I know that we will continue to watch you as you move forward to complete the goals that you've set out for your district. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you'll come back. And thank you to everybody for watching us today for this new segment, A Bare Moment. Please check in next month as we will have Congressman Lamar Smith. Again, thank you, Congressman.
Thank you very much for having me on.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Will do.